We are here for our workshop tonight, the Walmart workshop. I will let the applicant know that Commissioner Chris Thomas is in traffic. He's running late. He will be here about 6:15. But rather than make you wait, we do have three. Commissioner Doty has called in. He's not going to be here at all tonight, so waiting for him won't do us any good. We'll be waiting for a full month. So I would like to invite, I hope it's all right that we can get started. Before we do the workshop, do we have comments from our Economic Development Director?
Thank you, Chairman. Just one comment. I did want to introduce, we have a new interim city manager. Ron Bradley is here, and he wanted to stop by and say hello to the commission.
It's a pleasure to have you on board. Welcome to our fine city. Where are you coming to us from?
I live in Temecula, what cities have I managed?
Yeah.
I started in La Mesa, then did Oceanside, then I did a startup for Wooded Hills, I did retire a long time. Came up to do an interim at Temecula, and that was for 90 days. I stayed 5 years. My job was to build a wall. We got done. Then I done the interim in Murrieta, the interim in Hemet. I'm in Memphis, as far north as I go. I like to go home at night. But anyway,
Well, thank you for coming. Appreciate you coming down and saying hello. My name is Robert Carwin.
yeah, I've got the name. I asked about Madrid. I've dealt with a lot of Madrid. Yeah. Temecula City Council of the Chango Tribe. A lot of them.
I don't know them, I have to meet them. I'm sure Jeff's glad you're here too.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
He was
Very glad you're here.
well in hanging out there. It's good to meet you all, and like I said, it's my pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good. That was exciting. Luminaries stopping by the Planning Commission meeting. No, not Illuminati. All right, so with regard to the workshop, do we have a staff report associated with our workshop this evening?
We do have a staff report, but I think this workshop we're going to do a little bit different. If you're acceptable with that, we would like to kick it off to the Walmart group to have them do their presentation first and then a staff report following.
Very well.
Okay, my name is Doug Plummer, and I represent Ty Holcomb. He's the architect of record. I'm out of Dallas, Texas, and we do a lot of Walmarts across the country. So I want to go through a presentation tonight to describe to you what your new Walmart would look like. First of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about the site plan. This is not the most current site plan, but it gives you an illustration as to, I'm going to walk over here.
Do we have a handheld we can give him
I
or
think my
anything?
voice is loud enough, you can probably hear me.
I can hear him just fine. Do we need him? Would they be on mic for a record or anything?
As long as he speaks that loud, I think it's fine as long as the mic's pointed. We were having some issues with our handhelds. They were
Right here is the distance. That's why. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, this is the Walmart's newest prototype. It's a 190 prototype. It's 187,703 square feet. It has grocery and general merchandise like you've probably typically seen in a supercenter. One thing that's unique about this store is that on the grocery side of the building, we have a drive-through canopy, which is what they call an OGP, online grocery pickup. And it's the intent for a customer to go online, order their groceries, and drive by the store and drive through this canopy, and their groceries are loaded into their trunk. Also part of the online grocery pickup, there's also a pickup internal to the store. So if you, like the site to store, there's going to be a cash register designated just for general merchandise for customers to walk in and orders that they placed in the store. So they have two avenues to pick up either general merchandise or grocery. There's a garden center. We typically have racks on the side, which would be facing out to I-215. But after many discussions with the staff, we eliminated those racks. We only have them in this certain alcove on the side of the store. Okay, along with the new prototype, Walmart has established a new proto look, or basically a look for their building. This is not a proto building. This is much beyond a proto building. They've opted to do neutral gray colors on their building to allow that the branding and the branding elements that they have for this store is the blue banner with the Walmart Spark on it, and also the orange canopy and the orange band over here for the Spark pickup. That's part of Walmart's branding. In fact, they're going across the nation, changing a lot of stores to the gray store. They're adding the blue background, and they're also adding the orange. Many of the discussions that we had with staff here was some of the comments was we would like somewhat tower elements on the building. So we went through and we raised these elements on the side of the Walmart banner here at the front. We've got a tower element. We also have a tower element over on the pickup side, and then over on the garden center side, we also have a tower element. So we're actually doing articulation across the front of the building that was requested by staff. We also vary the materials. We've added stone across the entire front of the building at the lower portion. We've added stone pilasters here on the front. We've also added these tower elements are buried metal panels. So it's a opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to diverse in the materials that we're using for the building.
How high is that stone element?
Stone
tall is it
element's
from the
about
ground?
4 foot across the building.
So from the ground,
Yes,
it's up about 4 feet?
Yeah.
It's with the proportion of the photo, it's hard to tell how tall it is.
Yeah,
Sometimes we
I
like
like
to see a person
Okay.
in there.
Yeah, it's 4 foot. I also have a material board, if you want to kind of pass this around. Gives you an idea what the materials look like. You also ask about the stone. Here's an actual sample of the stone that we're going to be using for this store. It's a cultured stone by Boral. It's a ProFit Alpine lead stone. Also, going around the building, this vestibule is different than the proto Walmart building. We actually put metal, and I'm going to go to hold this back just a little bit. But you can see right here at the grocery entry, we have metal going across the front, and also in the it's hard to pick up on the general merchandise side. We're also doing the same thing. There's more glass in this storefront than the typical Walmart store, so we have gone to a little extra effort to provide a design from Menifee that is a little bit different than most of the stores that you see across the country. The rear store, as it faces Chodale, I think that's correct, Chodale Avenue. We also articulated the rear elevation where the dock is located. So we have 4 pilasters on the front to give articulation to the roof line along the back. Also, there's an area where there's tire storage at the rear facility. That's typically been a fence, but we actually put a masonry wall in there as requested by staff. The side of the building, we also have another branding element so that people going down I-215 can identify the store. Again, we have another tower element next to this branding element. It's also the Berry's metal stone. The colors that we have here are the colors that Walmart requests, which is it's a Sherwin-Williams Repose Gray, there's a Dorian Gray, and there's a Gauntlet Gray. Each of these are grays that Walmart has selected as part of their branding element for all these stores that they're doing across the country. Bump outs are 8-inch in depth, so it does give some articulation. Again, on the side through the drive-through side, we did some articulation across the roof line as well. We have a few tower elements on the side of the building as well. One other thing, we went through a very detailed schematic of the square footage of the signage for the building. And so we comply with all the necessary signage requirements, but that's also, I think it's in your packet too. I think you all got the 11 by 17 package.
Yes.
Okay.
One thing I didn't see in here that I don't know what the plan is there any freestanding signage that's expected for this property? Like a tower sign or anything like that?
Yes, there is. And right at this time, we're still working on the master sign program. We have it almost finished, and I think we'll come back in if we can and show you that freestanding signage, if that's okay.
Yeah, because I'm interested to see how that signage will work with, because these are pretty bold colors, and I know that the staff was commenting on asking if we could tone it down. It's a proprietary color, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, just giant orange signs and then orange flags and things like that are something that I'd be concerned about. But
Okay. Okay, here's some more isometric views.
I like the
Yeah,
blue.
that's it. Again, we did a very detailed cornice at the top of the Walmart banner here. There's cornice all the way across the entire, on all four sides of the building. We've got,
Is that typical of this type of store design, or is that unique to this project?
that's unique. No other store's got this. We specially designed this for your city. Here's a little bit better depiction of the tower elements that was requested by staff. You can see how we've actually raised the elements up, gives some articulation to it. I know Lisa had asked that we do black line drawings. We haven't got to that stage yet, but we will do a roof plan and whatnot to really kind of show what's going on. The home and pharmacy and the grocery entry are very distinct. Like I said, they have glass. It's got different materials. We have stone, we have ephes, and we have metal. Also across the front, there was some concern about right behind this wall, the Walmart blue wall inside the store is tenants. There's probably about 6 tenants inside the store, so all their exit doors or the rear doors of those tenants are in the front wall. There is request that we have a trellis across that front. So in addition to the trellis, we also have these planter boxes with trees in them to help block that view at the lower portion. But we also have stone behind there too. So it really kind of gives a nice flavor, a nice design for people to be able to walk through that area.
Can you clarify that? So all of Walmart's I've seen have not had an exterior exit for those suites. Are you saying each of those suites has a door, an exit door?
Yeah, there's an exit door. You have to have an exit door in those tenant spaces. Yes. There's about I don't know how many doors we got across the front. Probably 5 or 6 doors across the front. But we took care of that with the what we did with the trellis and the landscaping.
So the trellis is what, about 6 feet off the wall, the doors? or
It's
something, or-
fairly close to the wall. The trellis, I think, is about 6 foot in width, and it's supported by stone columns.
So if you go out the door, you can't see the doors through the trellis?
Not as prevalent, no, not as prevalent as you would on a typical Walmart. Also, just wanted to show you, this is just one page. We've got about five other boards over there. But this is the process that we've gone through for the past couple of years, probably even more than that on this project. So I took every one of Lisa's comments and went through every one of them. I think I captured every comment that, whether she had it on, or the staff had it on there was a 24 by 36 that they marked up initially. So I took all those comments and put them on a sheet, and then did a comment to each one, each time we did a submittal. Our most recent submittal was December 7th. The reason this is dated February 3rd is because of the articulation that we were doing around the building. She wanted to make sure this wasn't a flat wall, and it's not a flat wall. It's projected away from the building. But like I said, we've got other boards over there. I don't need to show all the boards, but we just went through a lot of comments, and we're trying to address all those comments. And so I think that's, I don't know, Matt, or you got anything else that we want to go over? You have any questions? You want me to put any board back up that you would like to look at?
It looks like you didn't cut any corners on that. It looks really nice. I kind of like the orange too. But my question is, where is your distribution center where you'd be bringing in your products?
Well, there's really no perfect answer because there's multiple distribution
So there are, okay.
throughout. Frozen goods come from Riverside, there's one in Montana, there's Apple Valley, and Walmart's currently looking at several others. So one store gets it from different
Sure.
distribution centers depending on the product.
So what hours does distribution run? So your store is 24 hours, correct?
Correct.
Typically. So what time do you guys roll in to drop
There's
off?
no fixed time. Generally, we ask for 24 hours delivery. And I'm looking at Lisa because I'm trying to remember if that's where we're still at.
Was it early in the morning usually, or any time?
Well, a lot of it's going to be dependent on ultimately what the noise study for the EIR says. I know that's in process. We're due to update that. My experience is that it pretty much runs throughout the day. They tend to like to spread the trucks out. They tend to be more non-off-peak for traffic considerations. And as Walmart expands their distribution network, they become, the trucks come closer, and it's really more spaced out. There will be some morning deliveries, and that's something that will be analyzed. If there's an issue, it will be identified in the noise study and ultimately the EIR.
Okay, thank you.
Did you want to add something to that?
We'll make sure that the staff report, when this does come back to Planning Commission, includes an answer to that question, when the delivery hours will be, and the results of the noise study, so you have that information.
Yeah, if you could go to the first one, the one looks like this, the layout.
Yes.
On Shadell Road, what is the view from Shadell? I know, I see what the elevations are from the rear of the building, but what the rear of the building looks like, but what is it, is there any kind of wall, or what is that there, that dotted thing? Is there any kind of screening from Shadell versus looking at the back of the Walmart?
That's the screen wall.
6-foot high
Yeah,
screen
on the
wall.
right, it's right there on the right of way?
It's this line
Yeah.
all the way there.
Yeah.
That's a 6-foot screen wall.
And as far as cinder block or metal, corrugated metal, or what is
No, it's
it?
going to be the CMU material, help me out, Jake. Yeah, concrete masonry units.
Like a textured concrete
Yeah,
masonry?
like a textured
type of thing?
concrete. Because it's also, I believe that has some sound attenuating as well.
Okay. And then is that biocell, is that on the inside of that? Is that like an infiltration?
Correct.
Type of thing? Okay. Screening, Have you taken a look at the Walmart that was approved on Scott Road? Are you familiar with that at all, and the aesthetics we did there?
Perhaps.
Kind of? You look at 1,000 of them, I'm sure.
No, that one's, yeah, no, I worked on that one, yeah.
Well, okay, so elaborate on that. Describe that to me as far, because that had Browns and it had some other.
Correct, that was the prior Walmart brand, that the older brand in some of the stores still have the brown wall. As Doug's mentioned, the Walmart is now going through all the stores and then changing them to the blue and gray. Since that store is currently on hold, they're not directing us to do anything with it. And if and when we come back, the elevations may or may not be changed.
So that kind of begs the bigger question here. I don't know if you've already asked it or not. You got 2 locations. Are you really going to build Scott, or what is the intention of? Is there a large enough market for 2? I know you've already gone through the entitlement process there, and you're working on here. What are you guys going to do? Are you really looking at 2 stores? Or are you kind of seeing what's going to be built first, or where are we going with this?
I can't say definitively as to Scott. This store is the one we're trying to get entitled since we already have Scott entitled. Walmart's looking at all the other stores in the area and making decisions, and all I can say today is they plan on having 2 stores in Menifee.
And just to be clear, this is a quote super Walmart? This one's a super Walmart?
It's what they would call a super center, even though they don't use the name. They haven't used the name in a long time. But the super center concept is the merchandise on one side, grocery on the other. They haven't built what they would call a Division I Walmart in California in probably 12 years.
So I'll ask it another way, and hopefully you'll answer the question.
I'll answer the best I
Okay,
best I can.
that's what I figured. That's what I figured. What is the likelihood of 2 really being built? Because that's going to kind of be an issue.
Without holding me to a specific time, I think the likelihood is good. I just don't know when.
And the follow-up to that would be, what was the likelihood of them being built in the same century?
Oh, I can say yes on that one.
I mean, are they anticipating moving forward as rapidly as possible, or is it going to be build one and then see how that flies and then decide what to do with the other, or?
That I can't say. That I can't say. Currently, the direction is to move forward with this one to get it entitled and to build this one as soon as possible with all of the contingencies that come with that once projects get approved and what happens to Walmart.
So of the 2, it's anticipated that this one's going to be started first?
I think yes, today I can say that this one would probably go first.
Anticipated, I understand that there's no lock plan, but if everything is the way it is today and everything gets approved, as it stands right now, this is store number 1 in Menifee, the other one will be store number 2.
Correct.
I understand. We do have one thing, Commissioner Thomas, we didn't have yet as a staff report because they wanted to go first. So would you like to hear the staff report first or ask your follow-up question first?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay. So let's get our staff report on this at this time, and maybe that will satisfy some of the questions.
Well, we have a lot of questions, so I don't know if it'll satisfy any. We wanted the applicant to go first to show you the architecture and explain the colors and the branding, and that really does lead better into our presentation. So this project site is located north of McCall, east of Encanto and the 215, and south of Shadell Road. The workshop has been scheduled to discuss the architecture, but you can ask any questions you do have on the project tonight. This Walmart is being processed as part of a larger plot plan for a shopping center. The total shopping center is 208,371 square feet on about 24.5 acres, and the Walmart building is over 180,000 square feet. This application has been in process since August 2012. That is one of the reasons there are so many elevation comments. The second submittal was in December 2013, third in November 2014, and fourth in July 2015. We have received some reports and exhibits since July 2015, but not a comprehensive resubmittal. So that's one of the items we're waiting on before we bring it back to the Planning Commission as a formal item. We're also waiting on a specific plan amendment because this project is within a old specific plan, Pueblo del Sol. And we will also be doing an environmental impact report with the project, and we haven't received a screen check of that yet. And the screen check is a EIR that's reviewed by staff before it goes out for the public review. So we have been reviewing and commenting on various versions of the architecture since the original submittal in 2012. And over the years, the architecture has changed to reflect Walmart's changes in prototypes and branding. Our comments on the architecture are based off of compliance with general plan policies. And these were listed in the staff report. Generally, our policies in our general plan are to require high-quality architecture, employ design strategies and building materials that evoke a sense of quality and permanence, provide special building form elements such as towers and archways and other building massing elements to help distinguish activity nodes and establish landmarks within the community, provide variations in color, texture, materials, articulation, and architectural treatments, avoid long expanses of blank, monotonous walls or fences, incorporate visual buffers, including landscape, equipment and storage area screening, and roof treatments on properties abutting either Interstate 215 or residentially designated property. Design new landscaping, structures, equipment, signs, or grading within scenic corridors for compatibility with the surrounding scenic setting or environment. Require specialized design review for development along scenic corridors, including but not limited to building height restrictions, setback requirements, and site orientation guidelines. Require regional retail districts to provide entertainment and dining in addition to retail sales and services to create destinations prepared to withstand e-commerce increasing capture of retail spending. These districts should create a pedestrian-friendly, human-scale atmosphere with street furniture, shading, and gathering spaces that enhance the experience of shopping and socializing. As Mr. Plummer mentioned, the proposed building has a modern or contemporary architectural style that hasn't been constructed in Menifee on this scale. So one of the items we were requesting feedback on is just the general approach to the architecture and the style. Also, we've already discussed the colors, the gray theme. We haven't had a lot of grays in Menifee, so we wanted some guidance on the overall colors, including the bright accent colors. We don't have measurements on the plans, but the blue on the Walmart in front is about 16 feet in height and 80 feet in width. On the side, it's about 10 feet in height and 30 feet in width. And then the orange is a smaller portion. And you also have the bright orange canopy. The predominant material for the building is concrete masonry block that is painted a variety of colors. There's no stucco finish or plaster finish over the CMU. They do include a lot of other materials, the metal wall panels, storefront windows, metal canopy, stone, and EIFS panels. But we felt the use of these materials is limited in comparison to commercial buildings of similar size. And typically with commercial retail buildings of this size, we do have multiple tenants, but as they described, there are 6 tenants inside. And when we have more tenants, we have more entrances along the front of the building that help enhance the architecture with tower canopies, more glass. So the building itself has more articulation and a variation in materials. So to provide some comparison, we have the Menifee Lakes Plaza, which will be on the other side of the 215. This is about 75,000 square feet. And you can see, you do have 3 majors and shops. So there are the more entrances, more glass, more storefronts. But there's a lot of tower elements. This is the Town Center Marketplace, which has been constructed. It's only about 45,000 square feet. Again, multiple tenants. Heritage Square, this one has not been built. It's at McCall and Menifee Road. It's 82,000 square feet. There are 3 majors and shops, but it gives you a sense of the different materials and tower heights. This is probably the most equivalent comparison because this is the junction and this building is 160,000 square feet. But you can see the large entry and the canopies and the use of stone. There's I believe it was simulated wood siding, stucco. I didn't have the color elevation, so I apologize. And this is another building at the junction that's 140,000 square feet. One of the other items we were asking for some feedback on is treatment of the rear of the parapets. Based on the elevations provided, it is not clear that the back of parapets will be treated or painted, trimmed the same as the fronts, or that tower elements will be four-sided.
Say that again?
So if you can see in the picture on the slide, it's showing the gray shading at the top of the building. That's going to be the back side of the parapets on the front of the building. And then the incomplete towers, you can see that the tower elements, they just have three sides. There's no back to them. So this project is in a scenic corridor, an enhanced landscape corridor per our general plan. It's visible from the freeway and sits lower than the freeway travel lanes. There's surrounding residential development to the north that will have views of the building. And where the public will see the rears of the parapets or tower elements, staff has recommended that these items should be treated the same as the front of the building, or the tower should be four-sided in order to be consistent with our general plan policies. Architecture that fails to finish rears of parapets and towers where open to public views is considered by staff to decrease the aesthetic value of the area and to be inconsistent with the general plan policies. For example, tower elements at the recently constructed town center marketplace are four-sided so that drivers driving east on Newport Road or pedestrians at the Central Park site, they won't see an unfinished portion of the building. And I have a picture here. This is what it looks like in real life when the backs aren't finished. Now for this project, we don't have line of sight exhibits yet, and we don't have a roof plan yet, but this is something we wanted to bring to your attention to get some direction on. You know, if no one's gonna be able to see it because the building's so big, then we're open to leaving it at three-sided, but where it's going to be in view, we want to see it treated. This is the east elevation. This elevation's fairly plain. We just have the CMU block, and it's the three colors.
This is what will be seen from the freeway, right?
This is what will be seen from the RV storage facility.
On the other side.
So,
The hospital side.
yeah. Although this side of the building faces an existing RV storage lot, the public will be in the area due to the pickup use. Staff had previously asked for a landscape planner along this portion of the building to create a nicer edge condition for the building, which currently has the drive aisle asphalt paving coming right up to the building edge. The planter would also allow for the screening of the blank walls. Since the last review of the site plan in July 2015, the city has passed a new landscape ordinance which requires tree plantings along buildings 1 every 30 feet. So it's something we've requested to add a planter instead of maybe additional architectural enhancements. Planters along the front elevation. City has a requirement for trees along building walls that we just discussed, and staff has requested additional planters along the front of the building or between the drive aisle in front of the store and the sidewalk along the front of the store. Planters help to create a pedestrian pathway separated from the drive aisles and vehicles with shade and seating areas that generally add to the aesthetics of a project. Landscaping also breaks up large monotonous walls. The applicant has added some planters for approximately 10 trees. However, staff recommends more planters. So the planters that are provided right now are in the green on the bottom of the picture. This is an example of another center where they have a plain wall, but they've done rows of planting, and it just kind of makes it look a lot nicer for people walking, and provides a separation, kind of creates a sense of safety too. This is at Countryside Marketplace. They have the covered walkway, and then they have the landscaping that goes up and down some of the front of the stores to again separate the pedestrians from vehicles. The rear elevation, we touched on this a little bit already. It is facing existing residential development. However, there's going to be a drive aisle behind the Walmart, and a block wall, and then landscaping in the parkway on Shadell. So it's likely that the residential development will only see the upper portions of the building. The rear elevation is fairly simple and almost entirely CMU block with different colors. Staff wanted to bring this item to the Planning Commission's attention to get feedback on whether the commission finds this level of enhancements to be adequate. The roof over the garden center is only proposed to be a shade cloth. Staff has recommended a trellis structure over the garden center in compliance with our general plan policy that requires that projects employ design strategies and building materials that evoke a sense of quality and permanence. Staff recommends that the roof should be compatible with the architecture and made with durable, high-quality materials so it does not detract from the aesthetics of the building. So our recommendation is to continue to conduct the workshop, and we have listed the specific items that we're asking for some feedback on. And then, of course, we'll take any other questions or you have. This concludes staff presentation.
Thank you. Do we have any public speakers for the workshop?
We have no public speakers.
Thank you. All right, comments or questions? Commissioner Thomas?
A couple more.
I know we cut you off in the middle of your questioning, so why don't you pick up for us?
Apologize for being late, hit a little traffic, so thank you for letting me jump in here. Question on McCall, on the easternmost entrance, it says proposed signal there. Is that gonna be a condition?
Yeah.
Or,
So the traffic study and the site plans are still in process, so the location of the signals will be determined during that review, and then the project would be conditioned to make the various improvements per the traffic study.
if not, it'd have to be a right in, right out, I would assume, there.
Yeah, it's likely that there will be the signal.
What's across, isn't that there's the gas station and then there's the
Masonic Temple?
Masonic Temple, is that what's right across there?
The Valero and the lodge are actually closer to the intersection of Encanto and McCall.
What's across the street, is it just field?
Yeah, it's vacant.
Second item, I would concur with the city on the staff's recommendations on those improvements that were just listed in the staff report. And one thing I'd like to go back, can you go back to the screen where it had, you had the examples of the architecture? It wasn't Town Center, it was the one before that. The staff report, yeah, the colors and variations in the, yeah. Every project that's come before us, we really do hold them all to a more of a country aesthetic, with more variations in the colors and the reds and the tans. And I understand Walmart's going towards the gray, but we would probably hold you to more of a varied color palette like this has here. That's really what we're looking for. That's what we went for on the Scott one, on the Scott Road Walmart, to really, no offense, not make it look so much like a Walmart, but more look like an improved center. Similar to, we've got the Countryside Marketplace here. We're really looking towards that. So I would suggest you look at a more varied color palette with more reds and bright colors and to that. And then things like on the back where it's all just cinder block, put some more stone or some more coloring. I know these people in the mobile home park, it's the back of your building, but they're going to be looking at it every day. I would agree with the more trees, more screening. Just go through the staff report. I'd agree with all those comments. I think that's about it. I think you guys caught everything that I was looking at.
Commissioner
And
Thomas?
The four-sided definitely, because people are going to see this from the freeway.
Commissioner Thomas, do you
Yes.
mind pulling down your mic? It's not,
Oh, sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, okay. There you go. That's it for now.
So I had a few comments, but most of them have already been addressed. I do respectfully disagree with the idea that we have to have all of these different colors. The general public in California has already been conditioned to the Walmart brand, including its color palette. So I really don't have a problem with that, because I know I drove down and took a look at the site on the off-ramp. The first thing I wanted to do, if I had envisioned a Walmart there, was to take a U-turn and go down and spend some money there. So I don't have a problem with that. I do really want to commend you for drawing up these plans and these elevations. This is very unique. I shop at all the Walmarts in this area, and I'll tell you, this one's going to stand out, and I want to commend you for that. I don't have a problem with, as I said before, the color palette. I think it's a little overkill to put all those many trees in there. I don't think we need that many trees, because those trees are going to grow, and with time they're going to provide adequate utilities for breaking up the wall patterns. Well, that was all I had. Thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I want to ask a question to commissioners. So are we okay with the architecture in itself, or are we looking just for colors and variations?
Well, what's your thought? The purpose of the workshop is to get each of the commissioners' comments on the architecture and the building. So if you're fine with the architecture, then your comment that you're fine with the architecture is helpful for the workshop.
Yeah, I'm fine with the architecture.
Do you have comments on the color palette or anything else that you want to add?
No, you guys covered it.
The could you put up that last one that was just up? The one with the front of the building. Yeah, I do disagree with Commissioner Thomas in one element, that those other town centers that we saw with the varied color patterns serve really to designate the different businesses that exist within that building, whereas here it's going to be one cohesive building. So to have a red wall and a brown wall and a tan wall would be kind of patchworkish, I think, to designate one single business. I do appreciate Walmart's more modern design in getting rid of that giant blue wall that used to go across the whole front, like the old one in Hemet used to have. I actually like the pop-out blue. The orange, it's weird that when I see that orange, the first thing I thought of was Home Depot. And the drive-through over canopy section of Home Depot. When I saw that in the big 11 by 17, that's the first thing I thought of, was that it's a lumber pickup area. But that's Walmart's problem, not ours. I don't know if anybody's going to drive over there thinking there's a Home Depot there, but I do think that on the back of the building where you're going to have that big block wall, that might be a place for some overkill landscaping, as opposed to over-designing the wall. You know, and I never want to suggest that you should put ivy on your walls, because we know what that can do to concrete. But if you were to kind of take your over landscaping, I agree with Commissioner Phillips that it's going to grow out. Use some of that landscaping budget to hide the back wall, so you don't have to over design. You can do whatever you want with that wall if you hide it with beautiful greenery and bushes and things. Not asking you for more in addition. I'm saying maybe redistribute it and use that, something that would cover that back wall. That would be very helpful. We have consistently encouraged people to complete the towers, and without line of sight, I'd say they're probably going to lean towards that. So you could probably expect that that's going to be the default position. What else did I have here? Those were the two real big design. The building that this most reminds me of in town is actually that one right there, the education building. It's kind of similar in modernity and the use of the stone at the bottom. It actually fits in line with that one, which doesn't really match with what's across the street from it. But I was looking through some of the other Walmart designs around the country, and the one that kept popping up was there's one in Washington D.C. on Georgia Avenue, where it looks like the front of like Camden Yards or something like that. That's a really cool scaffolding one, but that wouldn't go here. And then some of the other designs, I don't know if it's an old pattern where the roofs had kind of a curvature to them.
Yeah, that used to be the old scheme on the front. They
Right, I haven't
changed
seen
more to
those in
rectilinear.
recently built Walmarts. That was kind of a,
Right.
so I do want to echo Commissioner Thomas's questions regarding the two Walmarts. I mean, when I originally heard about this project, I thought that Scott was going to be this giant super Walmart, and this was going to be kind of a neighborhoods version. I know they don't do that model anymore, but having two full-size Walmarts 4 miles from each other seems kind of unsustainable.
Actually 7 miles apart.
7, okay, 7, but I do believe that Walmart has some of the most maniacal number crunchers in the business who can talk about sustaining their business. I don't know of any Walmarts that have closed for lack of business.
Well, and just to let you know, as part of the EIR process, we also have to do an urban decay study that will go into the details of what the market can support. So I can tell you that the city of Menifee can support 2 Walmarts, especially based on their spacing, and then the spacing of the Paris store to the north, and then the stores to the south.
So generally, I mean, as it stands right now, I'm in favor of this project. I think it would fit well there. If given my perfect dream, I'd love to see you guys buy that little parcel of land across in Canto where that blown out building is, and just put your sign there or something like that. I don't know who owns that property. That thing's hideous, and I can't believe you'd want it across the street from your Walmart.
Even the homeless don't want to stay there.
That's right. So, has there been any discussion of what's going to happen? I don't know if this is part of the traffic study, if we're getting too far ahead, whether the road's going to need, whether Encanto's going to need to be widened?
Yes, Encanto will need
Encanto,
to
and
be
then,
widened.
and then the McCall Bridge, obviously.
Well, we're not, yeah, and that's part of the coordination. The traffic study has looked at what McCall Bridge will be. There's interconditions, so you'll have a chance to look at all that. It looks at all the various scenarios.
So that begs the question, expecting that McCall would need to be improved in some way eventually, is this project contingent on McCall improvement, or is it going to go up? It could go up as is.
Correct.
Whereas the other one is contingent on the Scott improvement. This one, won't have that same,
That's correct.
I understand.
What are the anticipated TUMP fees on something like this?
Those haven't been calculated yet, and I don't know what the TUMP fees are offhand.
Do you think they would be expected or conditioned to fund 50, 60, 70% of freeway off-ramp improvements, cloverleaf? What are we talking here?
I can bring back a discussion on that when the project comes back to you for planning commission. A clear discussion on what road improvements the applicant will be completing with the project and what road improvements the project will be responsible for fair share. Our traffic studies recently have been including that fair share discussion and clearly identifying the applicant's percentage to those improvements.
That will be the number one issue when it comes to public hearings on this, is what are you going to do about, the volume of the traffic? I'm for Walmarts. I shop at Walmart.
And the traffic study will look into that. We're in the process of trying to get that finalized with your staff, and once we get that done and the IR done, we'll be able to have that conversation with more background and facts.
So I guess the bottom line, for purposes of workshop, is you've presented us with this design here. There's some, what I consider to be relatively minor tweaks to this design requested by staff. Nothing, we're not asking for parapets or eaves or anything like that. And I think with the comments of staff, I agree with those comments, and I think everybody here does. I think you've got a favorable project here. I think the city would love it. I think it'd be beneficial to the city, especially in that location. And
One other question. Do you expect to go through the whole lawsuit shenanigan on the EIR that we had to, and balloting like we did on the other one?
I can't say. I will say, based on my experience, it's very rare Walmarts do not get sued.
Mr. Johnson is just waiting for you to file your EIR?
Well, either Mr. Johnson or there's several new folks in the game that we've been dealing with, so
That gets factored in?
it's part of the process, yes.
Fair enough. Is there anything that you haven't heard from us that you would like us to address?
I don't think so. I think this was probably one of the more important, because I mean, site planning and all that will come along. We're very close to resubmitting the new site plan. And like Lisa pointed out in her staff report, the EIR and all the other technical studies will be coming your way. So as we work through the architecture part, we're still, working through the site planning part so that ultimately, and sooner rather than later, we're in front of you with.
Have you walked the Countryside Marketplace property? So yeah, there was that one slide in there showing that walk through with the planters there, and it really is a nice element for people. But I know people aren't going to be going from store to store. It's one location.
Right.
But as far as getting from their car to the store and things like that, it's a nice element. But I am mindful personally that this is a one business building as opposed to a marketplace. So, yeah, I think I like it.
All right.
Actually, one other question, sorry. What road is that? Yeah, in Kanto, it looks like here, is it 2 lanes each way? Is that what it's projected to be improved? Well, it's 4, but two each way.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, that's it, never mind, go ahead, no question.
Yeah.
I think I may be premature, but you have a groundwater problem there.
We've done quite a bit of analysis out there, yeah, and that's
Okay.
part of the design, and one of the reasons why it's taken a little bit longer is to figure out what to do with the water and
Okay,
infiltration.
because that's the westerly end of a natural drainage, and every so often that area floods. So,
That's definitely been considered.
okay.
Good. Anything else?
When can I get the comments from, are you going to email those to me?
Sure.
All right, I guess that will conclude our workshop.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing this to us. I want to commend both the applicant and staff for all of the commentary and work going back and forth. There's been a tremendous amount of effort in this project, and hopefully it will lead to just a tremendous project for the city. So we will stand in recess for 7 minutes and pick up at 7 o'clock for our regular meeting. I only have a single gavel here tonight, so. Well, let's call the meeting to order. We are at 7:01 by my clock. Madam Clerk, if we could have a roll.
Commissioner Madrid. Here. Commissioner Thomas.
Here.
Vice Chair Phillips.
Here.
Chair Carwin.
Here.
I'll note Commissioner Doty is absent.
He did let us know in advance he was not going to be able to make it tonight, so we do have 4, so we can conduct our meeting. At this point, let's all rise and face the flag for our salute. Ready? Begin.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, do we have any modifications to our agenda?
No modifications, sir.
So it'll stand as is. Any presentations for us this evening?
No, sir.
Which leaves us to approving the minutes from our previous meeting, February 8, 2017. Anyone care to make a motion regarding those minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes from the last session.
Second.
You have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
I abstain from that.
Right. He was absent, so.
He was
He was
absent.
absent, so we have 3 in favor, 1 abstention, no noes, so that passes. No items on our consent calendar tonight. We have 2 items on our public hearing calendar. Let's start with 9.1, the public hearing for Bradley Road Bridge over Salt Creek. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, Chairman. Jonathan Smith, our Director of Public Works and Engineering, will have the balance of this item.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wyman. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Tonight before you is going to be the presentation of the Bradley Road Bridge. I am available to answer any of your questions that you may have. And with that, I'm going to have our project manager, Carlos Geronimo, start off the presentation. Anytime during the presentation, if you have questions or comments, just let us know. And we also have our design consultant and environmental team here, should there be any questions that they need to address. So with that, I'd like to introduce Carlos Geronimo.
Good evening, members of Planning Commission. So as Jonathan stated, we're here to present the Bradley Road Bridge at Salt Creek, M&D for adoption. And as he stated, we have the team from Designer Environmental as well. So that's it. So this first slide is just a timeline of where the project started to where we're at now. February 2015, the project was accepted for preliminary concept and design. And September 2015, we initiated design by City Council. And June 2016, the structure type and hydrology were approved by flood control. And December 2016 through January 2017, a draft ISM&D report was circulated for public comments. On February 2017, Planning Commission today is the adoption of the ISM&D document. And by March 2017, the DBSP should be finalized and approved by wildlife agencies. The DBSP was submitted last week. Okay. The purpose of the project is to improve traffic circulation and mobility through the area. It would also improve traffic and pedestrian safety. It would eliminate frequent road closures due to flooding and would improve drainage in this area as well. So the project would construct a new 350-foot long two-lane bridge at Bradley Road over Salt Creek. I just want to point out that the two-lane is just the current configuration, just to match what's out there. But the bridge itself has the capacity to be widened 4 lanes, should we require in the future due to added traffic in that area. The bridge will also provide ADA-compliant pedestrian ramps at both ends, as well as sidewalks, as we mentioned. It would raise the intersections of Potomac Drive and Rio Vista Way and provide 8-foot shoulders for NEV vehicles and sidewalks on both sides. It would also relocate essential utilities in that area. So this slide shows you the current conditions of the road. It's, like I say, right now it's a 2-lane road with shoulders on both sides. As you can see on the bottom left picture, currently there's only I want to say a 36-inch culvert. I believe 2 of them, which try to handle the capacity of the road, of the storm events. As you can see in the other picture, it floods all the time. And if you live in that area, you are always have to go through this every winter, and road closures and detours and all these things. So it's an inconvenience, and it also prohibits emergency responders to quickly go in that area. So here's a proposed improvements for this area. This is the plan view and a profile of the bridge on the bottom. We would, as we say, we are going to elevate the road, so it would handle that 100-year storm events. It would prevent frequent closures, and it would improve drainage in this area. Slide. So here's some renderings of the bridge. This is kind of what it would look like. It would be a 3-span bridge over the entire length of Salt Creek. And as far as architectural features, we're going to incorporate the same architectural treatments that we incorporated in Newport Road and also the proposed Holland Road overpass. So there will be some similarity and some continuity in architectural features on all these bridges. So let me just read this. Findings and determination. The city has prepared an initial study for this project and following public review has determined from this study that the proposed project would not have a significant impact on the environment with the incorporation of mitigation measures. There are no impacts or less than significant impacts on the following: aesthetics, agriculture and forestry resources, air quality, geology and soils, greenhouse gas emissions, hazards and hazardous materials, hydrology and water quality, land use and planning, mineral resources, population and housing, public services, recreation, transportation and traffic, tribal cultural resources, utilities and service systems. Impacts on the following are mitigated to less than significant impact with implementation of mitigation measures: biological resources, cultural resources, and noise. So, and these are the recommendations for tonight: to conduct a public hearing on this project and to adopt a resolution approving the mitigated negative declaration based on the findings incorporated in the initial study and the conclusion that the project would not have a significant impact on the environment with the incorporation of mitigations. So let me just go back to the proposed project slide. If you have any questions or comments, Jonathan said he's there to answer some questions, so am I, and so is the team. Should you have any?
Said you're gonna have to raise the level of Potomac and Rio Vista, whatever, so when, as it comes out here, I think that's Potomac there, isn't it?
That is correct.
The actual, where Potomac meets up with Bradley, that's not gonna change, right? That actual out, where it comes out of the neighborhood, or is it just, see where the light, the pole is there? I think
Right.
that's kind of where the elevation starts, isn't it, or is it?
Actually, the elevation starts before it, actually before the intersection. This rendering at the time, we didn't really have anything figured out, but the actual, let me see if I do not have the actual grading plans. But both intersections will be elevated about 1 to 2 feet. And that would help when the 100-year summer events will come, because right now there are elevations that are under the 100-year summer
okay.
event, so we need to raise them.
Just to piggyback on that, there's this one item in the packet you gave us, it's listed as Figure 3,
Right, okay.
with the yellow markings on it. The yellow markings on this is the boundary of the project that's expected? Is that what that means?
That is the extent of the environmental study that was.
Do we have this as a slide?
I do not have that as a slide, no.
So my question is, so I'm looking at this, north is up here.
Right.
Newport's down here. What is going on in this area, off to the side of Bradley Road? Why is that marked off in the yellow? What is the significance of that as relation to this project? Yeah, please.
Jack?
intersection is gonna be raised.
Would you mind stepping to the podium and state your name? Thank you.
Jacob Karras, he's the designer.
Yeah, my name is Jacob Karras, I'm with NV5. The whole profile is gonna be raised, and by the time we touch down, we're by that intersection of Potomac and Rio Vista is gonna be raised a little bit. And that actually works in our favor because both Potomac and Rio Vista are actually going up from Bradley. So as you raise Bradley, it's giving you a better transition. So those yellow marks that you're seeing, we had to actually work with our sub-consultant on the environmental to make sure that they cover that area as part of the area of potential effect for the project.
So this area here where it pops out into Potomac, that's where the elevation is gonna start?
Not exactly. That's where the impacts, for contractor work or any type of work. But the actual elevation will probably be somewhere between the intersection and that yellow line.
I see. So you're only gonna elevate from somewhere in here, but this is where project staging and things are going to be.
Yeah, the staging is going to be all over the whole area because the roadway is going to be closed. So the contractor will be allowed to use the current area of Bradley Road.
So down here, is it Rio Vista? Is that the name of that road?
Yes.
Is there an outlet on Rio Vista to go anywhere else? How do people get out of here if this road's closed?
No, it won't be closed. It will not be closed. It will be staged because people have to still get out. So that's part of the specifications that we put into the project and taken into account, that the contractor has to allow the residents to be able to get out.
So in both Potomac and Rio Vista, while this is going on, involving their streets,
Correct.
the residents will still be able to get in and out of the neighborhood through there.
Correct.
That was a concern. Thank you for clearing that up. Does the Rio Vista go anywhere? Does that hook up in the back with like Park and all of that stuff?
Yes,
Or is that
it
a dead
does. It goes around through a hospital.
That goes around. It doesn't go all the way through. Okay.
No, it doesn't go, but there's another exit. Actually, they choose.
Any other technical questions of staff before we open up the public hearing?
I just like to note, and the vertical curve, the sight distance is great. I mean, that would probably be my main, well,
How high are we going to raise this from current, like for the current roadway level of the bridge? How much higher is it going to be?
Top of the deck, 13 feet?
I want to say between 8 and 12 feet.
8 to 12 feet.
Wow. How long is it going to take?
The construction?
Right.
The construction for this type of bridge will probably take anywhere between 10 to 18 months, depending on the contractor, his work crew, and his experience.
So we have listed the worst-case scenario, which is an 18-month window for construction. However, I will be presenting options for reducing that construction time through incentives and possibly phasing and in the future. But 18 months is worst-case scenario.
And what's the estimated cost?
Total estimated cost is about $8 million.
Do we have funding for it?
So at the time when we were talking about this project with the previous city manager, I was given information that we had funding. And that's why we elected to go the route we did with the MND. We, as you know, have been dealing with some financial issues that could jeopardize the funding that I was originally told was available for this project. And we're going to have to spend some time to go over the projects that we want to construct and determine what monies we want to put on what projects. So that'll be another discussion that will happen here in the future, and that'll be the prioritization of our CIPs.
So is there an estimate start for this project? Start date or time frame?
Carlos has the current schedule, and he can go over that. Assuming that we had the construction, he can give you that schedule.
Assuming we have the funds, the document was based on a start date of March 2017, this year. But since we're still going through the funding and prioritizing our projects, like Jonathan said, so that may get pushed farther.
So if it were to push, it's not going to have any impact to the MND because the seasons are the seasons, they never change. So it's just a matter of when it would be constructed. I don't have any definite information to say that it will not be constructed in the time frame that we're talking about. It doesn't look likely, but however, we have a new city manager, and if he brought a money tree with him, we may be on schedule. I don't know.
The current bridge that's in there, roadway, call it, it's not really a
Yeah,
bridge,
it's
it
not a-
sits on the
it's not a
ground.
bridge. It's in-
What's
on-
underneath? Is it elevated in any way, or does it, like, when you take that roadway out of there, is there an expectation that there will be habitat and wildlife underneath it, or is it just sunk straight down for compaction?
Sunk straight down for compaction. As you can see in the picture, I mean, it's at the channel surface. It's at the flow line, and underneath there's two culverts, all concreted in case there's all kinds of utilities under it. So it's pretty much disturbed, and I don't think, I'll defer it to environmental.
Is the new bridge wider,
Yes.
Wider than
the current roadway?
No, it's, we're gonna be taking the edge of pavement to edge of pavement for the bridge.
Right.
We're not making it wider.
It's wide in the sense that we are adding sidewalks.
Yeah, wider in what we're
We're-
putting, but as far as physical limits.
The footprint's going to be the same.
Same, exactly the same.
It's going to be constructed in the existing right-of-way. No additional right-of-way is going to be required. And if you would, just highlight on the fact of the utilities that are being taken out of the drainage way. We have a sewer line.
Sewer line, water line, most of utilities are gonna be accommodated inside the bridge cells. There is a high-pressure gas line that's also on Bradley Road right now that's gonna be abandoned and relocated by the gas company. But to go back to your question on what's below there, you've got the culverts, and the plans basically put into effect is the removal of that culvert in its entirety, which is gonna help flood control regrade that area to meet their grade and allow more flow, which will help in the future for passing the 100-year flood.
And I think the last question I have, unless this sparks something else, when this starts, is there going to be any way through there?
No.
So once construction starts, is it going to start with closing the roadway, and then for 10 to 18 months, there's no getting from Potomac to Rio Vista?
Correct. So it's not like we didn't look into this situation, right? We did look into that, but to do that would actually increase the total cost of the project and more than double the duration of construction, because you'd have to do the bridge in 2 stages.
So how much would that increase the cost of the project? Like
Anywhere-
double?
Anywhere from 25 to 75%.
It's going to increase my secretary's commute by about 30 minutes, because she lives right off of Potomac, and my office is right below Rio Vista.
So I'd like to add for the discussion that these are issues that we will be addressing in the future now, as we move forward with our budgeting for our CIPs. These discussions will be had, and we'll make sure that we include the commission in those as we move forward. But my point tonight is presenting the worst-case scenario for the project to show that we are mitigating the impacts on a worst-case scenario, and that anything else will be less of an impact.
Thank you. Commissioners have technical questions of staff? Thank you very much. So at this point, it's 7:21. We'll open the public hearing. Do we have a properly noticed hearing?
Yes, sir, we do.
Do we have any correspondence for our record?
No further correspondence from the last time.
Thank you very much. Do we have any public speakers?
Matt Harris?
Good evening, Commissioners. I came before you at the last meeting with various concerns about the aesthetics of the bridge, the form of the bridge. I understand the city hasn't adopted general plan design guidelines, which tells me the city's very interested in getting good design, be it private or public projects. And so I'm here again tonight to look at exactly what's proposed for incorporation into the bridge. I was encouraged by the previous speakers' talk that there was going to be some aesthetic elements put in it. He went over it rather briefly. I wouldn't mind hearing a little more specifics of what's going to be put in it, but it certainly is encouraging. And so with that, I just request that maybe some more information can be provided about this issue. Thank you very much.
Next speaker, Patty Nahill.
Good evening, Commissioners. Patty Nahill, resident of Menifee. First of all, I'd like to thank Commissioner Phillips for his letter that he attached to the project in the initial study. He was on point with his comments. There were deficiencies in the initial study. I do not believe that the responses given to him as a citizen were appropriate. Most of the comments were duly noted, thanks for the comment, but they did not provide substantive information regarding his concerns. Secondly, my comments are prefaced off of the assumption that was based on the initial study, which was this was going to be constructed as of March of 2017, less than 10 days from now. The document does not address and has deficiencies in the project description that if, under the assumption it was going forward and there was funding, they have not identified a detour route. And yet, in a staff report prepared by Mr. Smith, they identified for the project for the professional service agreement on September 2nd of 2015, the road closure historically lasts several hours or several days, forces many residents to utilize alternate routes that doubles the original commute times, for your secretary, and adds to the wear of alternative roadways in the city. The alternative roadways in the city were not addressed. The document does not address a detour plan. This affects not only the residents and businesses within the city, it affects all utility providers within the city. The school district for bus service, refuse collectors for their routes for an 18-month period. None of this is addressed in the initial study. That is a deficiency. The other thing that it doesn't do is it doesn't address, they have identified that in order to raise the roadway, it's going to require fill. No haul route has been established. No identification of where the dirt is coming from has been established. For a project that's starting in less than 10 days, according to the document, it should have been established. These are not construction details. These are a requirement of SEQA. SEQA is a foreseeable future event that you know is going to happen. Commissioner Phillips had pointed out in his letter as a resident that the mitigation that they've proposed in an offsite mitigation bank needed to be taken care of. He is absolutely correct. They fail to identify haul routes. They have mitigation measures that are inappropriate, and staging areas have not been identified as part of this project as part of the initial study.
Ms. Nahill, that is your time.
Thank you.
No further speakers, sir.
While our public hearing is open, can I permit Mr. Smith to respond to that? Mr. Smith, would you care to respond to those comments? I think you were the most qualified to do so.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So regarding the detour routes, typically these are details that are presented at the time that we work with the contractor and understand his methods and means, and then we figure out the detour routes. This is standard operating procedure with any of our CIP projects, and it's handled accordingly. The impacts to the other agencies associated with the use of the corridor and maybe even having improvements in that area are also coordinated at the time when we have a pre-construction meeting and we establish the protocol for communication with the team, and we allow everybody to have that information so coordination can be made appropriately. Again, these are standard operating procedures with each of our construction projects, which we're very familiar with. As far as knowing where material comes from, we don't know where the contractor is going to purchase his material. He may get it within the city, he may get it outside the city. Again, these are standard operating procedures with any project, and all this information has been addressed in our environmental document according to CEQA guidelines. Did I miss anything?
I want to, if I could, basically direct what he asked to council. Is the, okay, she's saying there's no detour route in it. You're saying that it's addressed. Is a detour route required for the issuance of a negative deck?
Well, I would probably defer to the CEQA consultant on that exact issue for the level of detail you would need on the detour routes. But you are supposed to analyze, obviously, any impacts to the environment and then look at ways of mitigating them. If the CEQA consultant would like to discuss
Sure,
that.
Because what she's implying is that we cannot issue a mitigating negative deck because it's deficient. And my question is, that's her opinion, what is legal counsel's opinion?
Right. I would defer to the CEQA consultant to discuss that specific issue.
Good evening. Sean Shamley with DUDEC. Our firm prepared the mitigated negative declaration on behalf of the city. And the answer to your question is, as Mr. Smith has provided, is all the time when we prepare CEQA documents, whether it be an environmental impact report, a mitigated negative declaration, we have the same situation where there's a construction period that's known as what's known as a temporary time. Sometimes it's very short, a day or two, sometimes a little longer, like in this case, worst case scenario of 18 months. Nevertheless, it is temporary, and it is going to happen only during construction of the proposed project. Whether or not a detour plan needs to be included in the document is, I do not believe the answer to be yes on that. The detour plan is, as Mr. Smith has provided, is still unknown. I mean, there's a lot of different ways it could go. And to evaluate the impacts on that, CEQA is largely concerned with significant impacts on the environment, which tend to be not temporary. They tend to be longer term. They tend to be those that are dealing with long-term traffic impacts, long-term biological impacts, et cetera. So that's kind of a long answer, but I do not believe that a precise detour plan needs to be provided in the MND.
And what about on the filter? My understanding is, especially if you're going into Salt Creek, which is a flood control channel subject to species and environmental testing, all that kind of thing, is not that dirt tested or certified in some way when it's brought in? Isn't there some kind of certification on filter?
So I can speak to that. Any imported material that we have coming into the city, we have policies and procedures for accepting that within the city. And they are protocols that this body and the council has set forth. And I have incorporated those into our construction documents, meaning it's tested for all the things that we're interested in knowing about, including sludge.
And is it tested at the source, or is it through a transportation certification, or when is it tested?
So it's tested before it leaves the site to be delivered. It's tested then, and then it is brought in with a certificate of compliance that ensures that that material was the material that was tested. And should we find anything through our own testing, which we also do, we do sampling to make sure, should we find anything, then the party that is bringing the material in and the chain of custody that goes along with that will all be accountable for not meeting those requirements.
So my point in asking all this is her accusation that this would create a inability to do a mitigated negative deck is not true. These things can be handled outside of the document.
That is exactly true.
Do we have any other public speakers? Then we will close the public.
There's a gentleman right there.
I didn't put a paper in, but I didn't have questions, but after listening, I do. Can I ask questions?
Yes, you can come on up, state your name, and then when you're done, go ahead and fill out a slip and give that to the clerk so we can make a record of your comments. So go ahead and state your name, and
I'm Edward
you've got 3
Germo.
minutes.
I'm Edward Germo, and I live, the second house, I'm on Potomac. And so I guess my question is to you guys. The yellow line is right in front of my house. Is that going to affect me getting in on my driveway? I mean, what's...
Again, the yellow line is strictly for environmental purposes for air with impact.
Okay, and the other thing is, I mean, I know we're saying, it sounds like legally, we don't have to discuss detour routes, but for the people that live around there, legally or not, I mean, we always do legally. What about the citizens of Menifee that live right there?
I think what he's saying is before construction starts, before even a shovel of dirt turns, there will be a declared detour route.
I mean, I'm just...
It'll be delineated by signage, I assume.
Well, let's let him finish his comments. Let him finish his...
I guess what I'm getting at is, are we going to ask what the people that live there think about the detour routes? Because I know that the detour routes, there's not much. There's not much. So it's go down Potomac the other way towards Ridgemore, which is, you know, small little old people streets with senior citizens. There's not many ways around. Go down to McCall and come over the freeway that way. I mean, I'm just wondering
if this is something that will be discussed with us citizens in that neighborhood before it's a go. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I'm curious about, because I got to deal with it every day for at least 18 months, possibly 18 months.
We're going to wait till you've concluded your comments before responding, because we don't want to cut into your time.
Okay, and that's pretty much what I'm wondering about.
All right, thank you very much. We'll have you go fill out a slip, but the question is, at what point, well, first of all, tonight's hearing is just regarding the mitigated negative declaration. It's not for approving the project, it's not for the design of the bridge. We're just purely voting on a resolution for the mitigated negative declaration. Am I correct in that?
It's a resolution related to the M&D, correct?
Correct. So with regard to what we're doing tonight is not approving the project as a whole, it's that we're approving the environmental impact of the bridge, and then as it comes up for final approval for construction, will there be another public hearing on the final plan for the bridge?
That's what I plan to do.
It won't be an administrative approval, we'll have another public hearing on the plan for the bridge?
I will bring the plan to the meeting to be discussed as a discussion item, to provide information to the public and give the residents an opportunity to address the city and ask the questions. And I would like, if I may, address the concern of the resident regarding the detour.
Please.
So, we will be having a meeting once we determine and hire the contractor. We'll be having a neighborhood meeting to meet with all the residents in the area to address everyone's concern. And so we do that with all of our major projects. So we're not going to come into your neighborhood, set up shop, tear it up, and not talk to you. That's not how this department operates.
And so the other two things I'll let you know. One, you're free to communicate directly with staff. All of the contact information is on the website. You can send emails. You can write a letter even and drop it off at the counter or mail it in, so your comments are voiced. And then once the project comes up for actual approval, we're going to have a hearing like this where you can come up and say, hey, I don't like where this route is, or hey, I don't like the design, or whatever. Those things are not being decided tonight. But we're hearing now that there will be a public hearing to voice those concerns, so keep an eye out for that. And with regard to the design, the design elements so it's going to be the wrought iron fence. And is the stone on the inside or outside?
On the outside.
So the inside is just going to be plain white?
No. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's like K-rail on
See the inside. Nobody sees the inside.
Well, people on the bridge will see the inside.
Oh, you mean the
Literally every person who takes the bridge will see the inside.
I'm thinking about my bridge on the inside myself.
So on the picture on the right, that wall that is completely blank,
Right.
what will be on that in the real world?
It'll be concrete color, but we can also incorporate more architectural elements. Should we?
Is it that stone that's on the outside? Can we do it on both sides?
Well, it's just we have to keep in mind everything that we do that's architectural feature adds to the cost. As Jonathan stated, we're in a financial situation such that every penny counts. So.
Well, let's keep that in mind as we move forward. That
Your comments taken. We can do whatever to the bridge to make it as aesthetic pleasing as we can afford, but we'll have the opportunity to discuss those items.
Will it have Wi-Fi? No, just kidding.
No white.
It's not going to be white.
Yes. Yes. And you will also have to fill out a slip.
Hi, my name is Lisa Almendarez. That's my husband. So we live on the second house. So behind our house, there's the dirt path where people go walking. Is that going to be open? Because I know there was a project where we were going to do from one side of the city to the other side of the city, which I believe was 4 miles. Am I right?
You're talking about a trail in Salt
The
Creek?
trail.
I think that
So
got
is
ixed,
this going to
didn't it?
block
Yeah, I
the
think it got
trail?
shut down.
Oh, it did get shut down? I know, I got a letter about that, and then I came in and tried to ask somebody, and nobody knew anything about it. So it did get shut down.
Flood control wouldn't let us do it.
Okay, so is this bridge going to block that, so people are not gonna be able to walk across?
The access will remain open.
Is that the end of your comments and questions?
No. And also, also, you said something, I know you said it's gonna be 18 months, correct? The worst case scenario, and then you said in order to get it done sooner, you were, incentives. Well, there's a lot of construction that's going on that's been taking a long time in this town, and from my perspective, there's a lot of things going on at one time, and nobody's actually focusing on one thing and just kind of getting that done. Everything keeps popping up, and so a company needs to just do their job in a manner. Do they need an incentive to get it done sooner? No, we want the project to be done safe, effective, and a company should do their job and not cost us any more money than the $8 million. I don't know how that goes. I don't know if I'm off track, but that's what it sounded like to me. Thank you.
So let's address the concern of the access road first.
The answer to your question is no, it will not block the access roads that are present there because EMWD uses those for their maintenance. They have sewer and water lines going on both sides of the embankments, so they need that access, so it will stay there.
All right. I totally understand what you're saying about the contractor just needs to do his job and get the work done, and some of these projects have gone on for some time. The beauty of this project is it's pretty simple. However, if council would like, and they would like to shorten that time frame down from 18 months that we're predicting, they may want to do that, and that is an option for doing that. But I totally hear what you're saying.
I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense to me.
So so there's a process of constructing. I'm going to get into a little bit of details, and it takes a certain amount of time to do that construction. In order to accelerate it, you have to look at ways of paying for additional time and work hours that you did not anticipate on doing. For instance, we're not saying that he's going to be that the contractor will be out there any hours outside of normal construction hours. However, he may want to pay his crews some overtime time within the window that we have, the parameters that we have for construction. That's all I'm trying to say.
Do we have any other public speakers? All right. Do we have people filling out slips? Fair enough. Okay, then at 7:41, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Then we can open it up for discussion among the Planning Commission. Does anybody have commentary they'd like to make at this time?
Build, baby, build.
Mr. Water? That's you.
Oh. Sorry about that. I would like
Planning
to...
Commission's Aquaman.
Okay. I would like to thank the staff, engineer, and Mr. Dudek for putting together a fairly good plan and for entertaining my comments. I am one of the residents that gets stranded by the flooding over there, so I'm echoing Commissioner Thomas's statement, "Build, baby, build." I think you guys did a very, very good job, and I'm in favor of the project and of approving this MND.
Any comments?
Yeah, I like the way this went. It looks like everybody's concerned or answered, if not now, in the future, but environmentally, I'm good.
Here's what I'm going to say. The impact on the city when we get big rains is something that has to be corrected. we are about to go through a major growth period once all this stuff happens on Newport and Audie Murphy and all of that other stuff. So right now is about the only time we could do this looking into the future. If we waited 3 years, it would just be an immense disaster trying to put this bridge up. Cost probably double. So yeah, we recognize that it's going to be a large hassle for the people who live in the areas affected by this, but it's kind of an unavoidable portion of the city that we have to fix. It's like having a giant sinkhole in there. We have assurances from engineering and all the departments that they will try to mitigate the impacts on the residents to the extent that they can while still getting the job done. So my main concern was the environmental impact in this thing, but understanding how this road is constructed on there, I think it's actually going to help the environment by creating a pass-through and additional places for wildlife to pass and things like that, as opposed to now, which there's this big, essentially what was supposed to be a dam but isn't. A big ditch in the area. So I think that, yeah, I think it's a positive step forward. And as far as I think we've got the mitigated negative declaration should be adopted. So would anyone care to make a motion with regards to the resolution?
I'll make an emotion to adopt resolution PC 17 dash what? Whatever. Do we have a number? No?
They number after.
Okay, so the mitigated negative declaration.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Madrid? Yes. Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Phillips?
Yes.
And Chair Carwin?
Yes. All right. Moving forward to item number 9.2. This is the accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Exciting, exciting stuff. Do we have a staff report?
Yes, Chairman. Lisa Gordon, our planning manager, has the staff report for us this evening.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Gordon. I'm presenting the new accessory dwelling unit ordinance. Some background. Accessory dwelling units were previously referred to as second dwelling units or second unit permits. It's more commonly known as a granny flat or an in-law unit. The most basic definition is a second home on a residential lot that already contains an existing home. That's the most basic definition. Since the city incorporated, the city has utilized Riverside County Ordinance 348 for accessory dwelling units, but it was called second units. But state law changed. The state passed a couple of assembly bills and a Senate bill that provide more flexibility to homeowners in order to make it easier to permit an accessory dwelling unit on a residential property. One of the outcomes of the new state law is that the city's ordinance, the one we use from the county, is null and void as of January 1st, 2017. And so the city must use state law only until adoption of an updated ordinance. This new ordinance before you tonight is consistent with state law. It applies development standards to ensure accessory dwelling units are compatible with existing neighborhoods. And it ensures that the accessory dwelling units are designed to protect the public health, safety, and welfare. A lot of the items in the draft ordinance were run by the HCD for input to make sure that we weren't doing anything that wasn't going to be consistent with the state law. We did send them the ordinance to review, but we haven't heard back. The new state laws are very limiting on what the city can require regarding ADUs in existing space, so within an existing home or an existing detached building. But there is more latitude regarding accessory dwelling units that require an addition, if you're going to build an addition onto a house or an addition onto a garage, or a new detached accessory structure. So we can't do much with an accessory dwelling unit that's going into an existing house or an existing garage, but if it's new, we can add some requirements.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So I just read here, it says we cannot ban AUDs.
Mm-hmm.
ADUs, yeah. But you're saying we have some latitude on if someone's going to add on, say, a bedroom or they're going to add a granny flat or something. We can can't outright ban it, but we can, what is the latitude we have there? Tell them what color, or tell them, can we limit, say, no, only a bar sink? I mean, what are we talking?
So an accessory dwelling unit does have a kitchen. So it would be adding basically another dwelling unit. We have limited the size. You can limit the size. You can add requirements that the addition or the new accessory dwelling unit is compatible with the architecture of the existing house. And there's a section in the code that says, in order for approval, the addition or the new accessory dwelling unit has to have 3 components that match the house and its materials or color, or roof pitch, and there's about 7 other options. So that's one of the ways we're making sure that it's compatible with the house and compatible with the neighborhood.
Can I ask one question about that? How does that contrast with the next gen type of development?
Multi-generation housing.
Yeah.
Right.
So the multi-generation suites or the next gen suites, they don't have a kitchen.
So this is a standalone living quarters.
But it can be inside the existing house or attached to the house. It doesn't have to be standalone separate. The state also passed laws regarding junior accessory dwelling units, which are kind of like multi-gen suites where you don't necessarily have to have a full kitchen. And we are considering adopting an ordinance for that because we're seeing them built and we can count them towards our regional housing needs assessment as an affordable unit. So there's no reason not to adopt an ordinance and count them, because the more junior accessory dwelling units or accessory dwelling units, the fewer apartments, maybe. That's the idea.
So we denied, I think it was Lennar, one other builder, and they want to have those next gens that came in. We said, we put so many requirements on, they just didn't do it. So we wouldn't be able to do that anymore then.
Well, we'll get to that point when we bring forward a junior accessory dwelling units. But I think with the Lennar project, it wasn't too much. We ended up taking it to city council and there were some revisions made and they moved forward with some multi-gen suites.
Okay.
So again, per state law, the city cannot prohibit accessory dwelling units. An accessory dwelling unit does have a kitchen. A multi-gen suite does not. HCD provided a lot of information on accessory dwelling units. They have a great website, a great booklet that was included in the staff report package. And they also provided a list of benefits for accessory dwelling units. And these are that the accessory dwelling units are an affordable type of home to construct in California because they do not require paying for land, major new infrastructure, structured parking, or elevators. ADUs can provide a source of income for homeowners. ADUs are built with cost-effective wood frame construction, which is significantly less costly than homes in new multifamily infill buildings. Accessory dwelling units allow extended families to be near one another while maintaining privacy. Accessory dwelling units can provide as much living space as many newly built apartments and condos, and they're suited well for couples, small families, friends, young people, and seniors. And ADUs give homeowners the flexibility to share independent living areas with family members and others, allowing seniors to age in place as they require more care. The accessory dwelling unit ordinance is consistent with our general plan and goals and policies regarding concentrating growth in strategic locations. The idea is that if you promote ADUs in existing neighborhoods, then you're going to see less sprawl. They also provide a spectrum of housing types. It's consistent with policies for the development of senior housing in neighborhoods accessible to services and facilities. They provide flexible development standards, create a diverse housing stock offering a full range of housing opportunities, provide sustainable neighborhoods well served by parks and infrastructure. ADUs help with improved opportunities for moderate and low-income residents for housing, and it also helps meet the need for support housing for people such as lower-income families and seniors. So at this time, we recommend that we conduct the public hearing and then adopt the resolution forwarding a recommendation to the City Council on the Development Code Amendment that it is exempt from further environmental review and approve the amendment to the City of Menifee Municipal Code.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon.
I had-
Questions?
Yeah, one kind of a technical question. In any given tract development, how many of these ADUs would be allowed? Is that something that will be addressed in the new ordinance? The reason that I bring that up is because in some of the tracts that we have here in Menifee, you're talking about increasing the density in these areas, and that could really, really complicate other areas such as circulation, emergency response, provision of utilities, and so on and so on. And I was just wondering, do we have a percentage, like for every 100 homes, you can only have like 10 of these type of ADUs?
So, per state law, accessory dwelling units don't contribute to the density of the project. It's considered accessory to the single-family residence. So it doesn't double the density in the mind of state law. And then we're only allowing new additions or detached accessory dwelling units on lots larger than 7,200 square feet. And then also the lot coverage is 50% max. So you won't see accessory dwelling units on smaller lots because realistically it won't fit. We could have left the minimum lot size out, but we felt that might give people a false impression. But if somebody has an 8,000 square foot lot, they might have enough room to do a detached or an addition for an accessory dwelling unit.
So in a typical Sun City lot, we're not going to see little cabanas popping up in the back.
No.
Tiny houses.
If they have over 7,200 square feet, maybe, but there's not that many lots that are.
So in Lennar's Menifee Hills project, that would be an ADU?
I'm not sure on the lot sizes, but if they are over 7,200, yes, but then the lot coverage can't be more than 50%. So you're not going to end up with a 5-bedroom single-family residence and a 4-bedroom ADU. You might have a single-family residence and a 1 or 2-bedroom accessory dwelling unit, maybe for family.
So the builders that are building these are working out well?
I checked with our code enforcement, and we haven't had any complaints regarding the multi-gen suites. Now, this ordinance isn't for multi-gen suites. This is for suites that have a full kitchen.
Now, with that full kitchen, would that also include the bathrooms and what have you?
Yes, except for an efficiency unit. Per state law, we have to allow for efficiency units under this ordinance, and those can be as small as 150 square feet and may also have partial kitchen or bathroom facilities. So that's state law. We have to allow it.
And they also have a separate private entrance?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
And what about, say you've got a 10,000 square foot lot and you don't have the 50% coverage problem. You build a little 500 square foot, whatever, place in the back. Can that be used as like a home office? How would that work?
Well, if it's an accessory dwelling unit, I don't believe that there would be any issue with the home occupation within it. It's when you get to larger businesses, I don't think you'd want a home-based business. We're going to work on that in a future ordinance. We have a draft of a home occupation, a home-based business ordinance, and that's where we'll cover those details.
All right, so at 7:56, we'll open the public hearing. Do we have a properly noticed hearing?
Yes, we do, sir.
Any correspondence on this matter?
No, sir,
Public speakers?
we do not.
All right. Folks are just here for the show? There you go. Come on up and give us your name and...
My name is John Johnson. I live in Menifee, and I'm here because of this new state law. A year and a half ago, about 2 years ago, my mother-in-law's husband passed away. She lived in Canyon Lake. She sold her place. She wanted to live with her daughter in Menifee. I have 5 1/3 acres in Menifee, own the street, half of the street. It's a private street. And so we're going to put a modular home, built, brand new, permanent foundation. So when we started this, which was over a year ago, we came to the city, see what the requirements were, county and everything else, and my mother-in-law found this modular that was perfect. She fell in love with it, but it was too big. The city required 1,800 square feet or less if you were going to put it on 5 acres of property. She spent a bunch of money to get this triple wide, 2,400 square foot home down to 1,787 square feet, which met the requirements for the city. Here in January or December, whenever this new thing came by, I get a phone call. My mother-in-law spent $280,000 on this thing, and it's going to be the best looking house on this street. And we get a phone call saying, it can only be 1,200 square feet. So I don't know where that is in there, but so I'm a little upset. Anyway, so hopefully if this passes, it will alleviate our problems and get going. We spent extra money having the engineer come out and redo drawings and stuff that he had to come down and redline that he could have done over the phone, but I had to pay an extra $700 for him to come to the city of Menifee and do some nickel-dime stuff, in my opinion. But I'm not an engineer, so I, But I did put 27 years in the Navy. I worked for the government, and I know bureaucratic BS. And unfortunately, this just turned me. So I'm done. Thank you.
Can I ask you a question in regards to that?
Sure.
Since he has a application in process, would that not be grandfathered? I know that's not a legal term, but
Is it
Yeah.
retroactive?
Sure. So when he submitted his application, we were able to use Riverside County Ordinance 348, which allowed for a maximum unit size of 1,800 square feet. Unfortunately, that application wasn't approved before January 1st, 2017. So when we approve applications, we have to make sure they're consistent with the ordinance in effect at the time that they're approved. So if you recall, per the state law, because our existing ordinance wasn't consistent with state law, because it wasn't, our existing ordinance was null and void. So we had to follow state law. And in state law, the maximum unit size is 1,200 square feet. So one of the reasons we're bringing this ordinance forward is our ordinance allows for sizes that were in our old ordinance. So we're trying to reduce or eliminate existing non-conforming issues based off of size. And then in Menifee, we see a lot of accessory dwelling units on larger lots. So allowing for a 1,800 square foot size, especially on a 5.31 acre lot, that's not a concern for us. So if this ordinance gets recommended by the Planning Commission and approved by the City Council, then they will be able to keep their mobile home at the size it's at.
but you just said you have to use the new code.
Unless this new ordinance gets adopted.
Oh, okay.
The state law limits us to 1,200 square feet, and that's what we have to follow because Ordinance 348 isn't consistent
Are we
with
gonna
state
have
law.
some kind of ratio of 1 acre, it's this size, at 2 acres, you can go this max size, 3 acres, that kind of thing,
Yeah.
graduated scale?
Well, it's for lots less than 200,000 square feet, the maximum, 20,000
Yeah.
square feet. The maximum size is 1,200 square feet. And for lots over
Oh, the
20,
1,800, okay.
it's 1,800.
So you're good. Okay.
Any other speakers?
No, sir.
All right, so we'll close public hearing at 8:02. The question I have, so with, there's a provision in here on the actual construction of the accessory dwelling unit? So if somebody wants to put in like a storage container, that they couldn't call that an accessory dwelling unit?
No. So you would go to the development standards and requirements, and, well, you would have to make sure it's consistent with the building code, that they have an appropriate septic or sewer. There'd have to be a kitchen and a bathroom. And then you'd go down to the requirements on architecture, and it would have to be compatible with the house. So unless the primary dwelling unit was metal shipping containers, I think we'd have a hard time with that.
And likewise with a mobile home, wouldn't qualify as an accessory dwelling unit?
A mobile home does.
Why? Why?
Why? Yeah, it does have a kitchen. And then a lot of times with the mobile homes, they can add a lot of features that are consistent with the primary dwelling. You typically see the mobile home added as an accessory dwelling unit on lots larger than 1 acre.
Don't we have a container ordinance?
Yes.
I think we,
No new metal shipping containers
Right.
are allowed to be placed on residentially zoned properties.
and nor can they be configured to house human beings. I recall doing some work on that.
Yeah.
And I know that ordinance, as far as I know, it hasn't been rescinded, so.
Any other comments or questions? Anybody care to make a motion on item number 9.2? Which would be that?
I move that we adopt the Planning Commission resolution forwarding to the City Council that it find the Development Code Amendment Number 2017-032 exempt from further environmental review and approve an amendment to the City of Menifee Municipal Code pertaining to accessory dwelling units.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Madrid?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Vice Chair Phillips?
Yes.
And Chair Carwin?
Yes. Nice job, Ms. Gordon.
You're welcome.
All right, no items on our discussion items menu. Community Development Director comments.
Just a few, because I know you like to hear updates on what's going on in economic development. Continuing stores opening up in the Rich Development site with the Menifee Town Center right across the street. Nectar Juice has opened up, so a lot of people are excited about that because very healthy items for people to buy. Cream de la Creme is going to be opening up soon. I don't have a specific date. Ono One Barbecue is coming to fruition soon as well. The America's Best Eyewear has opened, and there will be a couple other stores opening up there, along with additional centers in the city continuing to move forward, including Stater Brothers, Barron's Market, and all the other ones. So,
The number one question we got to ask you at every meeting, Krikorian.
Krikorian is on their second plan check in the city, so their plan check continues to move forward.
So it's moving forward
It is.
through the process.
Yes, it is.
Nice to hear.
Can we use the E-word, expedited?
Commissioner Thomas?
Yeah, what's going on the litigation? I just went blank. On, yeah, the town center, the splash pad, the bathrooms, the bridge. I know it had a city council meeting. It was discussed. Were they going, and Leesmeyer filed the petition to change that? What? But I didn't quite understand the final outcome on that.
So there's an ad hoc committee that is going to be meeting with the developers' representatives. And the ad hoc committee is Mayor Pro Tem Leesmeyer, Councilmember Sobek. They'll be assisted by various staff as well in the meeting. They'll meet with the developer, maybe multiple times, I don't know, and then they'll come up with the recommendation, the two council members, and then bring it back to council for a final
as the
Approval.
city attorney, is it your, if you can say this, opinion that we have the legal right to reverse that administrative change that was done?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. It's up to the city council now. They have the full right to accept it, negotiate something else, or reject it. I don't know if, that doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, we're out of the woods, but that is clearly part of the agreement.
Okay.
Was that something you were suggesting agendizing for planning commission?
No, because we discussed it and then I pulled it from the agenda because it's being addressed on the council. I just wanted to hear from council if, yeah, it wasn't clear in the report whether we had the legal right to change an administrative thing that the city manager done, and apparently we do.
Yeah, so two things. The development agreement had a provision in it that allowed for the city manager to kick up decisions to the city council. You didn't do that, but under the municipal code, council members are allowed to call up discretionary determinations made by the city manager. That's what happened for the sake of transparency, and therefore the city council then basically gets to act on its own and make its own decision.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any reports from committee activities? I'll just note that we did have our Menifee Citizens Advisory Committee meeting yesterday, where we were approving housing and urban development. We've estimated that we're going to be getting about $72,000 from them, plus or minus, for public works projects to benefit certain classes of underserved members of our community. We granted applications to 5 different applicants, including Community Cupboard, Hospice of the Valley, Boys and Girls Club, and I forget who the other 2 were. I think the Assistance League of Temecula Valley,
Right.
and then there was one more. So they, in 20, the Community Cupboard got $20,000. $22,000. They get the extra change. Boys and Girls Club got $20,000, and the other 3 applicants got $10,000. So that was a good thing, helping the underserved people in our community. Love doing that. Love those places where we get to give the community money. It's a good feeling. So we don't have any future agenda requests from the commissioners, do we? All right, then at 8:10 we are adjourned.